Hello and welcome to More to the Story with Molly White. I'm so glad you joined me again today for another great episode. And my special co host, wonderful, awesome co host, Mary Browning, we welcome you to the show. Thank you for being with me. But come on, you got to agree with me. Every show is really great, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, with you. And it's so interesting. Our guests have so much to share and have so many stories of how they're bringing purpose from their pain.
Amen.
I'm honored to be here.
Amen. And like we've mentioned before, there's nothing more powerful than testimony. We stand on Revelation 12:11 that we overcome Satan by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And it brings hope and healing and encouragement to others. And that's why we want to introduce our special guest today, Karin Barbito from the beautiful state of Florida, the very strong pro-life state of Florida. And we welcome you to our show, Karin.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here.
Well, it's an honor to have other sisters, with us, and we all get to share our experiences and encourage others. And so, we want to kind of start out by sharing our personal experience with abortion and then how God led us to a healing journey, but how afterwards, how it affected our lives. And so let's just begin by, first of all, let me just say that you are the healing support specialist for support after abortion, which our listeners can go to supportafterabortion.com for more information. But God is bringing purpose from your pain. But let's start from the beginning and
Okay.
follow that trail to today.
It's a long journey.
Yeah.
You know, from a young child, I was always really insecure. I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. I've been heavy pretty much my whole life, and I learned pretty early on that being heavy was not likable. Like I was bullied as a kid. I can remember when I was in elementary school, I grew up in Michigan. We had these weird like greased pig things and like little fairs for the community. And they had greased pigs. That kind of just tells you how old I am, that we used to do that when I was little. And some boys picked me up and threw me in the pig trough full of water and made oinking noises. So I knew really early on that I wasn't going to be accepted, that people weren't going to like me. And so as I grew up and got into high school, even though I was super insecure, I appeared overly confident. And things came pretty simple for me. I was smart, so I fit in with the brainiacs. I was very athletic, so I hung out with the jocks. I would put out, so the boys liked me, and I would do drugs. I smoked weed in high school and would hang out with the druggies. So on the surface, it appeared as if I fit in with everybody, when in reality, I didn't fit in anywhere. And so I went to college, couldn't wait to go to college, really did not have a good experience in high school. And I met a guy and I really fell in love with him. I mean, he was really tall and big, which made me feel smaller. And back then, you didn't have cell phones and you didn't have internet. So we used to send letters over, like summer break. And I knew my parents wouldn't approve of the relationship, so I kept it hidden. And we were on spring break and we came back, and I'm going to admit it, I was the one that initiated the sexual encounter, unprotected sex, and I got pregnant. Man, I mean, I knew that if I kept that child, my parents would find out about the relationship and they'd either make me go to a different college, try to get us to break up, whatever. And it's the first time ever that I felt like someone genuinely loved me. And I didn't want to lose that. So I went to the clinic at campus and found out on a Wednesday I was pregnant, had my abortion on Friday, and was back in class on Monday.
Wow.
Problem solved.
Wow.
When I look back on that decision, I can't say I was pro-life. I can't say I was pro-choice. I really wasn't into politics or religion. I didn't grow up in a Christian home. I was pro-me. It was a very selfish decision.
Yeah.
So life went on. My parents found out about the relationship anyway, because I was a stupid teenager and I hid all the mail in a box under my bed. My mom found it. And so they sent me to another college and he just came with me. And about 3 years into the relationship, I don't know why this didn't occur to me when I was pregnant, but we wanted to be together, and my parents need to either accept it or not, right? I wish I had known that when I was pregnant, that if I wanted to be with this man, my parents were going to have to find out about the relationship. I
Mm.
just didn't think it through, right? And so um, I went back to college, took the car back to my parents. They disowned me, went back to college, and I was living with him and his sister. And I mean, I was working full time, I was going to school full time, and the relationship just wasn't as good as it once was. I felt like I was carrying all the load, and he was like bouncing at a bar a couple days a week, and I was killing myself. And so,
Can we kind of jump in there real quick, Karen?
sure.
So, did your boyfriend know that you were going to have the abortion?
Oh yeah, I told him. I
Okay.
told him. He went to the clinic with me, and my roommate gave me the money.
Okay. So he was involved in that decision somehow. And at the clinic, did they give you, was it there on campus that you went to have the abortion, or was it a facility off campus?
It was off campus.
Okay. So Planned Parenthood or some kind of an abortion
I
provider.
don't know that that's where it was. I can't really remember. It was so long ago. It was in 1977. And it's not something that I wanted to dwell on and remember all the details, quite honestly.
Yeah. And so that was really when abortion became legal, the first couple of years
Yeah.
that abortion was legal, and we didn't really know a whole lot about it. But you weren't.
Right.
My question is, were you given any kind of counsel? Were you given any kind of information on how the procedure was going to go? If there were any kind of consequences that could follow that?
None. I mean, when I went to the clinic on campus, I told her that I was pregnant and I couldn't have the baby. And she just handed me a card of where I could go. No questions, nothing. Now, let me just be clear, too. I mean, this was my decision. I mean, I can be pretty intimidating
Mm.
if I really want something. And so we never discussed it. It was like, I'm doing this. I don't care what you think, over and done with, right? And so when I went to the clinic, we didn't even get an ultrasound.
Yeah.
They just take you in, and there's no medication. There was nothing like that.
Mhm.
It was a surgical abortion. And for many years, I didn't remember any of it. When I went through my healing, I started to remember a lot of it. All that stuff that I had shoved down so far came to the surface.
Right. So let's talk about that then. So, uh, you and your boyfriend were together on that decision. This is what you were going to do, and you continued that relationship, but it was never the same.
Well, we never talked about it. And for a few years, it was really good until my parents disowned me and I didn't have any contact with my family. My mom called me once. It was on my birthday, and she whispered and said, I won't call you again, but I couldn't let your birthday go by. And so just when the relationship wasn't as solid as it once was, and I can't say that it was bad, it just wasn't worth me giving up my family anymore.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And then, so what else besides that relationship not working out? What else kind of followed you after that abortion?
Well, after we broke up, which is so often the case with relationships, um, I became really promiscuous. Um, Eventually, a guy showed interest in me, and I knew from the beginning that I shouldn't marry this guy. There was all kinds of red flags, but I was so desperate at that point to be a mom and to be married and have a halfway normal life that I married him. And we, about 5 years into the relationship, we found out we couldn't have kids.
Mm.
That was like a slap in the face.
Mm.
I mean, I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I ruined the only opportunity I ever would have to have children.
Mm.
And
So
I
I want,
tortured myself. Go ahead.
I want to pause for just a minute, Karen, because I know we hear this story, fairly regularly, but I want to be sure the listeners understand that once you had the abortion, you were essentially rendered infertile. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I can't say it was the abortion that had me do that. I mean, I can't say that, and they couldn't say that back then either. Just that we couldn't conceive. I
Yeah.
don't know if we couldn't implant, or I can't
Yeah.
say that.
But
Well,
you had conceived before.
yeah, you can see
Before the
before.
abortion.
But it's very common, is what I think Mary's trying to say.
Yes.
About over 20% of women who've had their first pregnancy, led to abortion, became infertile, or are never able to have children again, whether they conceived and
I
didn't.
guess it's a possibility. I mean, it was pretty violent when I remember it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
The procedure was pretty violent, and I could see how it could potentially disrupt tissue or what have you. Um, so couldn't have kid. You want me to continue? Oh no. Okay.
I just want to be sure we mention the helpline number, H3 helpline, for anyone that's listening that could be having an emotional reaction to the content of what we're discussing today. That's 866-721-7881. There's people there that can help you. Please give them a call.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Karin.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So my husband and I knew somebody through church. I had started going to church. Like I said before, I didn't grow up in a Christian home, but I needed something more, and I didn't know what that was. So we met somebody at church whose sister, I think it was her sister, was pregnant several states away and was going to place for adoption. So we started the process of a private adoption. I'm so excited. I had the car packed like 3 weeks before she was due, and the call came and she was in labor, and we got into the car and drove like crazy people, like 7 hours to get there. I think I probably jumped out of the car before it came to a complete stop and went running into the hospital. And I told them who I was and why we were there, and they said, "Oh, she's changed her mind." The drive home was silent except for my sobs. And when we got back home, I pretty much checked out of my marriage.
Wow. Wow. I'm so
Checked out. I started drinking, pretty much lived in my basement. Yeah, the relationship just really fell apart. There was a lot of tension. He wanted more of me. I wanted nothing to do with him. It was not a good situation. So finally, we separated and eventually got a divorce. And I moved to a different state to work for a company that my brother worked for. We both worked in the nuclear field previously. And so now this was on the maintenance side of the nuclear field. And so I moved to New York, upstate New York, and went to work there and met another guy that was nothing like my husband. And because I was a raging codependent, like I couldn't be without a guy, I had to find my value from how somebody else interacted with me. I found out that he was doing drugs, and rather than get rid of him, my codependency led me to do drugs, and it was crack cocaine. I was hooked on the first hit. Man, he had been a drug addict for like 30 years. I had no idea about that. And I mean, I had a new love now. It wasn't about him anymore. It was about the crack cocaine. I didn't even know that world existed. It was a freak show. I was middle-aged. I was in my 40s, white, running the hood in the middle of the night.
And that's just, I just want to capitalize on that. That's just how powerful abortion and the weight of abortion can be on us. You know, you were running from the pain, running from someone to try to run from the pain, and then you found this new love, which kind of helped you forget that pain, numb that pain.
Totally.
You know, and it's very, very common, Karin. It's very common that my own life, you know, I got into drugs and alcohol, not because I liked it, but because it numbed me.
Exactly.
It
And
numbed.
that's what perpetuates the drug use, right? You know, you'd get high, you would come down, and now, oh my gosh, all the things that I did, because the drug world is a freak show.
Yeah.
All the things that I did, all the people that I hurt, all the money that I spent, like I couldn't be in that place. I emotionally couldn't be in that place. So I'd take another hit and it would numb me out. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly
Self-medicating.
what I did.
Yes.
And I know so many women and men can relate to that story. And I just want to speak to you if you're listening and this is triggering you, you can identify with it, that we want to encourage you to seek hope and healing. And we want you to contact Karin, because she has the support after abortion ministry, and they will help you find just the right program for you. Correct? Is that correct, Karin?
Yeah, we have an after abortion line and we have all kinds of providers that have partnered with us so that we can find anything that anybody's looking for when it comes to abortion healing. And we have a directory that you can go and search for your healing yourself. Or we have our online self-paced, self-guided kind of healing. We have all kinds of
Amen.
options.
And that's at supportafterabortion.com. So I just kind of wanted to throw that in there because I know, like Mary was mentioning earlier, you could be triggered by hearing these personal stories because you can relate to them. And we're all about the hope and healing, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
go ahead. So now we're in the drug scene, and what followed that?
Well, I mean, the money ran out, and when the money ran out, I started doing criminal things, um, and I got caught. So I'm a convicted felon. I've been in jail a couple times. I was put on probation, and I couldn't stay clean. And my probation officer said, "Karin, listen, if you come back and have another dirty test, I'm going to violate you, and you're going to go to state prison for 3.5 to 7 years." County jail is way different than state prison. And I didn't think I would survive that in my 40s and white. I just didn't think I would. And so I knew I had a little bit of money somehow. And it was a Sunday. I had to report for my probation officer on Monday. And I knew if I got into detox that she wouldn't violate me because I was going to test dirty again. I couldn't stay clean. And so I am getting high. I mean, I did so much dope that day. I was hallucinating stuff.
Wow. Praise
I'd never
God you
smoked
didn't
like that
overdose.
before.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I don't know, it's about 11 o'clock. I still got a whole bunch of dope left, and I heard a voice. I wouldn't say it was God. I didn't know what it was, but I heard a voice say, "Call now."
Mhm.
So I picked up the phone and I called the detox. And are you guys hearing a little bit of I'm hearing a little bit of an echo when I talk, but
I'm sorry, we don't hear it. Mm-mm.
okay. Okay. Well, maybe then you don't hear it either. If you don't hear it, I'm good with it. I can listen to it. So I called and they said, "Oh, everybody's in bed. Nobody's going to leave tonight. Just call back tomorrow." So I hung up and I went back to getting high. And now it's like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, so when you said 11, you meant 11 p.m. So
Yeah.
this was like almost midnight and you're calling. Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I was too busy getting high during the day. Now I'm running out of time, right?
Yeah.
So it was about 1 o'clock and it was louder this time. It's like, "Call now." And I'm like, I'm living in an apartment, I'm like hearing things, and I open up my door and like, is there somebody out in the hall talking to me? And so I called and nobody had left yet. So now I'm starting to get panicked, right? So what do I do when I'm panicked and I don't want to feel that kind of emotion? Is I go back and I do another hit. It's probably 3 o'clock. I'm looking around. I got no clean clothes. My apartment is an absolute mess. I'm just figuring it's done. It's not going to happen. And like a thunderclap, "Call now." And so I picked up the phone and called, and they had a bed. So I went, I got to detox. I threw all the dope that I had left out into the parking lot. And that was my very first detox, my very first rehab. And I didn't get it right. You know what I mean? I every time I went back to rehab, I would put a few more clean days together because by this time, once I started crack, I wasn't drinking anymore. I was just doing crack. And so yeah, but it was the beginning.
Wow.
It
Wow.
was the beginning.
Your story kind of reminds me of Samuel in the Bible, when God spoke to him and he'd go and say, "Hey, Elijah, what do you want? You're calling me." He goes, "I didn't call you." And it 3 times it took.
Yeah, it
Like
did.
you, 3 times it took. And you
Yeah,
made that call, which it might not have led to where you were hoping for the first time, but it opened that door.
it did. It did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd get a little bit of clean time. I'd get high again, a little bit of clean time. I'd get high again. And there was a turning point for me in my addiction. This went on for about 4 years where I was straddling the fence. I'd stay in touch with my parents every couple of weeks so they wouldn't worry about me. They'd send me some money, stuff like that. And I don't recommend that for parents out there. Don't enable your kids to do drugs. So, I mean, I didn't get it right until they stopped supporting me and rescuing me, and I had to figure it out on my own.
Mm.
And so I was really straddling the fence, and it was ruining my high. And I was ready to step off into that drug world. and just leave everything else behind, knowing that I was either going to die, which scared me less than getting high forever, or I was going to go to prison. So I was at home. For some odd reason, I wasn't high this day. People knew not to come to my home because I'm not going to answer the door. The police are looking for me. Drug dealers are looking for me. I'm not answering the door, so don't come to my home. It's about 10 o'clock at night, and I hear a knock at the door, and I'm like, who possibly could? And I wasn't high, which was a miracle, right?
Mhm.
Who possibly could be at my door? And I went over and looked through the peephole, and it was the one woman who knew better than anyone else not to come to my home because she was sleeping with my boyfriend.
Mm. Mm.
And I can remember my vision just went red. I was in a rage. I had my hand on the knob and it's like shaking because my muscles are like fighting against me, right? And for some strange reason, I opened the door. I'm holding on to it. Like I can just feel oh, you can't see my hand. I'm like, it's like wiggling like that. I'm like holding on to the door, right? And my vision kind of cleared. And I could see that she had a bloody nose. There was a welt, big red welt on her cheek. Her lip was cracked. And I knew that somebody had beaten her up.
Mm.
And I knew what that was like.
Mm.
So I invited her in.
You had empathy for her.
I invited her in. I let her stay the night. I took her to her home the next day and got her clothes, and I took her to a safe place.
Mm.
That voice showed up again. I don't know how long after that, but the voice showed up again and said, Karin, don't step off. There's still something in you worth saving.
Wow. Wow.
I have goosebumps all over me.
Wow.
I mean, I remember it was like yesterday.
Mm.
And that was really the beginning of my serious recovery.
Wow. So you got back into recovery after that?
Mm-hmm. And it was in that recovery that a case manager asked me, Karin, don't you know, do you think you're a little codependent? I didn't even know what that meant, you know? And I mean, I'm like the poster child, I was the poster child for codependency. So she gave me this workbook. I mean, this is like my 9th rehab. Number one, nobody ever asked me about pregnancies or terminations ever. So it never came up. And this was like the 9th time, and none of these other case managers ever noticed this in me. And so there was like a 3-sentence description on the, oh, go ahead.
Karin, can we pause for just a minute?
Sure.
So for those people out there that have been in recovery and no one's ever asked you, what Karin is doing is inviting you to ask yourself about this.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you, Karin. I
Or
just
to
want to be
bring it
sure.
up if you're in therapy and they have
Yes.
asked you if you had an abortion loss in your past, then to bring it up, like Mary was saying, because obviously they haven't been trained in abortion recovery or to look for symptoms of post-abortion trauma. So yeah, and it took you 9 times, and then did you bring it up?
No, the case manager came to me with this workbook. And she asked me, do you think you're codependency? I said, I don't know. I don't even know what that is. And she said, here, why don't you work through this and see what you think? And it had a 3-sentence description of what codependency is. It took me a week to read it.
Wow.
I mean, it was so confronting. It was like I was looking in my face in those words.
So what is
confronting.
it? For our listeners, what is it that may not know what codependency is?
There's a whole bunch of definitions: people pleaser, enabler, I mean, finding your validation outside of yourself, needing someone to validate who you are outside of yourself is the best way that I can probably describe it.
Very good.
And yeah, so
you went through this workbook and you
I
read
did.
that several times to think, wow, somebody's writing about me.
So now I'm in this rehab. And this guy gets called into rehab. I don't know if you know anything about rehab, but people can't call up the people that are staying there. And so he talked to some counselor, and the counselor told me, and I thought that was pretty strange. He was in jail and he wanted me to come and rescue him. Now, that triggers everything codependent in me, right? Like, forget what I just learned, because now here's somebody that needs my help that I'm going to help because that's going to make me feel better about me, right? And so I am like running through this rehab. I can remember it. I mean, bawling. And when you first get into recovery, you fix the outside up before the inside gets fixed. So I can remember looking at myself in the mirror. I had all kinds of mascara on. It was running down my face. That's how hard I was crying. So I found a male counselor in his office, and I ran into his office and I said, please stand between me and the door because I'm going to leave here. And if I leave here, I'm not going to be able to come back here because I'm either going to go to prison or I'm going to be dead. Right. So he talked me off the ledge for about 30 minutes and I stayed and I got rid of the guy.
Wow.
I got rid of the guy.
Wow. Praise God. And
Huge. That's
that's the Holy
huge. Yes.
Spirit. If you ask me, that's the Holy Spirit, because how you in your own flesh would you want someone to block you from leaving? So it had to be, for me, a spirit-led thing, even though you didn't recognize it at the time.
Yeah. I want to go back for a minute because I think I forgot something that was really relevant. When I went to detox, the policy is that insurance, Medicaid will cover it for 3 days. So it was the 3 days were up and they said, Karen, it's time, you got to go. Your insurance doesn't cover it anymore. And I said, I'm not leaving. They said, well, it only covers 3 days. I said, I'm not leaving. Call the police. I'd rather go to jail. I'm not leaving. Find me a bed in inpatient. This is how desperately I wanted to get clean.
Wow.
Yes.
And they said, well, we can't do that. I said, well, figure it out because I'm not going. And they said, well, are you like
drag me out of here.
suicidal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm suicidal. So they said, well, we're going to have to keep you till Monday to see a psychiatrist. It was like that all the way through inpatient. So I went to inpatient after detox. They got me into inpatient. That's 30 days. It was over. And they said, it's time to go, Karen. And we don't have a bed at a halfway house for you. I said, I'm not leaving. Call the police. I'd rather go to jail. I'm not leaving. Figure it out. Find somewhere. I'll go out of town. So they found me a halfway house. And so now we're kind of caught up because I'm out of inpatient now. They found me a halfway house, and this is where my life really changed. I hated myself then. I hated myself, and I had no principles. I had nothing that I would stand on. I had no identity. You know what I mean? I was like a chameleon when I was growing up, and I would be, do, and say whatever you wanted me to be, do, and say. I was never an individual of my own. And so I put myself through Bible boot camp. I didn't know where else to go.
Wow.
And so what I would do is I would write. I started with everything I hated about myself. Spent a lot of time in Proverbs. Write it all on pieces of paper, and I hung them all over my ceiling and all over my walls. And I would read them every morning and night, and I would add to it every day. And so I spent a lot of time in Proverbs, and some things fell away right away. Like my language changed right away. Other things not so quickly. Like I smoked cigarettes, and that took me longer to let go of. And then I went to Psalms because I needed to lick my wounds from Proverbs.
Yeah.
And then, I was in the halfway house for almost a year. I also went back to college for social work there.
Awesome.
My priorities changed. I've been homeless, and I just started noticing homeless around me much more frequently than what I could see when I wasn't homeless or in the situation that I was in. And so then I said, okay, God, what do you call women to be that believe in you? And I still don't know that I believed in him yet. I was just searching for something, right? And so I started studying the women of the Bible.
Amen.
Getting clean was the hardest thing I ever did. In the beginning, I had to white knuckle it moment by moment. I had to get brutally honest with myself. I used to have conversations with myself like this. Let me know if you want to interject before I move on, because this is a pretty good story.
We have a few minutes left, and we're going to definitely invite you for a second half. But we want you to go ahead, and then we're going to have to quit in just a few minutes. But
okay,
then we want to hear the rest of the story.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We haven't even gotten to the good stuff yet.
I know.
I mean, the healing and the deliverance and all that.
Go ahead, Mary.
Yes. One of the things there's a couple of things that are coming up for me. One is you seem like you have a pretty strong personality. And from my perspective, that's not necessarily something I would marry with a codependency issue. So I just wanted to sort of like my observation was you're very strong-willed, and yet you had a codependency issue that you hadn't identified, and people around you hadn't identified until your ninth stay in rehab, right?
This is not how I used to be, though. This is not how I was before.
Let the redeemed say so.
Redeemed. Okay, well, that's good. The other thing that's coming up for me is earlier on, I think Molly asked you a question. Well, was that God? And you said, I didn't know. I'm just wondering, as these different sort of Well, certainly call now, call now, call now. When you look at that now, do you see that as God pursuing
Oh,
you?
absolutely.
Yes.
He doesn't
Okay.
need us to know him for him to be able to move in our lives,
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? He
Amen.
doesn't. I mean, in spite of me, he was able to do things like that for me. I mean, that's how big our God is, right? That's how able our God
Yes.
is, right?
Yes. Yes.
I couldn't do
Yes.
life without him today.
Yeah.
So why don't we stop here and then I'll pick up with the story when we do the next one.
Amen. So we're leaving here when Karen is in a halfway house. She's pursuing the Lord really, through the Bible, through Proverbs, which I encourage everybody to read a proverb a day. And the Psalms are so healing because boy, you can
Yes.
identify with David when he writes these Psalms, especially if you're wounded, or rejoicing. And the Psalms is just a beautiful therapeutic book, if you ask me. And
Mhm.
and the Lord has spoken to her several times along this journey, but you have not yet connected the dots
Oh,
and you
right.
have not fully surrendered your life to the Lord. But so
Right.
we just want to recap with our viewers that, abortion trauma can lead us down a path of self destruction. And if you're listening today and you or someone you know has had an abortion in your past and you have not gone through healing, or your friend or your loved one has not gone through healing, we invite you on that journey. And Mary's going to give you the contact information of a helpline number and give you Karen's website so that you can take that first step. We invite you to your redemption story, right, Mary?
Yes. Call 866-721-7881. That's the H3 helpline. Log on to supportafterabortion.com. Get connected with Karin, who is the healing support specialist, or log on to operationoutcry.org. You can find resources in any of these locations.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. We invite you to come to the other side, and that's the healing and redemption. So thank you for tuning in to More to the Story with Molly White. We're going to have Karin back on so she can finish telling us the rest of her story. So we look forward to having you back on, Karin, and thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, friend. Our broadcasting wanted to take a moment to personally thank you for being a listener of the More to the Story podcast. Whether you're a longtime subscriber or just found us, we're so glad you're here. This podcast is a community built on sharing, and that's where you come in. If an episode has ever resonated with you, please consider sharing it. Text it to a friend, post it on social media. Your recommendation is the most powerful way to help these important stories reach new ears. We are also inviting businesses and individuals to partner with us as official sponsors. Sponsoring the podcast is a wonderful way to reach a dedicated, thoughtful audience while directly supporting our mission. If you'd like to explore sponsoring the podcast, we invite you to visit our website at www.moretothestorypodcast.org. Again, that's www.moretothestorypodcast.org. Thank you for being a part of our story.